Hello out there, and welcome to a new episode of Books and Beyond from the Winter Park Library, recorded live in the recording studio at the library in beautiful Winter Park, Florida. In Books and Beyond, we have conversations with writers, musicians, artists, presenters, and other contributors. Most of our guests have appeared live at the Winter Park Library or will be presenting soon. We hope you'll subscribe to the Books and Beyond podcast and that you'll stay up to date with library goings-on at winterparklibrary.org/events. That's winterparklibrary.org/events. I'm Michael Werner, and I'll be your host for our interviews. Enjoy the show. Hello out there, library patrons, readers, and smart people everywhere, and welcome to the Books and Beyond podcast from the Winter Park Library. I'm your host, Michael Werner, and today we have what I think is a very special guest. We've been trying to get this guy on the show since basically since day one, and we're at about episode 30 now. We finally talked to his agent, and we got permission to have him on the show. So welcome to Jeremy Zorn.
Thank you. It's good to be on the other side.
Yeah, Jeremy.
I know I've been hard to pin down.
Yeah, Jeremy is the editor and the producer of the podcast, so he does all the hard work here. They call me in. I get the easy job here. I just ask questions and talk to interesting people. Jeremy puts the whole thing together, does some editing, producing, gets it up online, and but he does a lot of other things here at the library. So before we get into podcasting and the studio and everything else, Jeremy, let's talk about you.
Okay.
Jeremy Zorn, the person. So you were born. And
so I'm told.
So you're told. Where'd you come from, Jeremy? What's your young story, the young Jeremy story?
Oh man, that's pretty open-ended, Michael.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone's questions are this open-ended.
Not always, but
I'm actually from the Orlando area.
Okay.
So my parents still live just about 30 minutes away.
Okay.
I went to Lake Brantley High School.
Okay.
And
which, for those of you who are newer to Central Florida, or if you're listening to this somewhere else, that's in Seminole County, just north of
Seminole
Orlando?
County,
Just
yeah.
a little north of Orlando.
We were unincorporated Seminole County, sort of between like Longwood and Altamont Springs.
Okay. Yeah. So that's where you grew up. Went to high school up there. And then what happened after high school? Did you go to college? What happened?
I went to a wonderful place called New College of Florida that has changed quite a bit in recent years,
Yes.
due to some political things going on
Yes.
In the state. But at least at the time, it was a very interesting place to get an education, a very kind of alternative system where we had no grades.
No grades.
And while that might sound really, easy and fun all the time, it was great for studying like humanities, because instead of just getting, like a percentage point or an A or a B or a C or whatever on a paper you wrote, your professors were required to give you a lot more attentive feedback. They were writing what were called narrative evaluations about all of your work. And it was a very small, student to professor ratio. We wrote senior theses. And really, you have a lot of ways in which you're kind of in charge of your own education, a lot of freedom. So it's good for, self-motivated type learners and such.
And I know the new college is somewhere on the West Coast. Is it St. Petersburg?
Sarasota.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're always, 10 minutes from the beach, which is really nice too.
Yeah. Are you a beach person, Jeremy?
Sometimes.
Yeah,
I like beach in like this time of year.
Uh-huh.
As a Floridian, the summertime is not the time to go. The winter time is the best
it's
time.
amazing how many. Speaking of that, it's amazing how many people actually do come to Florida in the summertime, and it's just brutally hot for me.
It sure is. Yeah.
I stay as close to my pool as I can, and don't want to get out because it's hot. Okay, so you're at the new college, and you're probably dreaming of being a librarian. Is that pretty much true?
No, actually,
No.
my way of getting here was very roundabout, and it's one of those things I think that in retrospect makes sense. But no, it's not. It's not quite what I was dreaming of. The libraries were always, a place where I felt really, like I belonged, and the places I felt at home, were oftentimes among the books.
Oh,
and,
in libraries.
Yeah, and even being in college, writing research papers all the time and everything. I was a religious studies major.
Okay.
So just kind of being among the books and in libraries, and that was always kind of my, very special place for me.
So ending up in a library is obviously a natural fit for you then.
Yeah.
But you had a couple of stops, or at least one stop before the library world. What did you do after college?
After college, I actually did go to graduate school
Okay.
and continued to study like religion and philosophy. And I got into work teaching kind of through that because I got to do a little teaching in the humanities department at Florida State where I was at for that graduate degree.
Okay. Up in Tallahassee.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
Tallahassee. Yeah, we taught a class called, or me and some other peers taught a class called multicultural film,
Okay.
and that was a really great experience. That was some years ago now, but it was a class that was kind of cutting edge and ahead of its time by a little bit. It was a class where basically we just watched typical Hollywood movies, but we would get the kids writing essays about them, kind of.
Kids meaning the students.
Yeah, the students. Yeah. I
By
shouldn't
this
say
time, you're not a
kids.
kid anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
18
22
to
or
22.
something.
Yeah. And I was 24.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get them to, kind of analyze movies along like sociological factors. So they're looking at what is a movie saying, about race or about gender
Okay.
or sexual orientation
Yeah.
or class. So it was interesting class to teach and a really kind of formative one in some ways.
And was it was through that experience that got you interested in being a teacher? You think? Or,
Well,
I know you did end up in education.
he became a teacher because I needed a job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I taught middle school for a few years, and I actually did.
And was that your first job outside of college, outside of the university?
First real,
First
full
professional
time
job,
kind of,
yeah.
professional job, yeah. And so I ended up doing some of the film appreciation type stuff, which it's funny. I never really felt that comfortable in my own skin doing that work. I was never, like a movie buff or
Okay,
anything.
yeah.
And I was much more comfortable teaching world history for sixth graders. That I really enjoyed and loved.
Okay.
But something always felt a little off for me as the film teacher, though in the end I got to create something that I was proud of and I think the kids enjoyed, and this time truly the kids enjoyed and learned from, a kind of a cultural history of the 20th century through film kind of thing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you were actually a film teacher.
Yeah.
Too. I didn't realize that you could do that. I mean, I thought teachers were like, they were a sixth grade teacher and you taught everything: math, science, English, etc.
Yeah, this was a class that this was like a small charter school, so all of the middle schoolers basically took my class. And then at another point, I was teaching, world history for sixth grade, and that I really enjoyed a lot. Yeah.
Okay. And you did that for several years?
A few years, yeah, a few years, and then what happens if you're not an education major is you need to be certified in some different education stuff.
Oh, you were not an education major?
No.
You had religious studies.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, I came from more of like a religion, philosophy, psychology background in my studies and academic interests.
Yeah.
And I've always been way more of a music person than a movie person. So there's that whole thing. But, yeah, so basically, when it came time to renew some teacher certification credentials, I was working 24/7. It was a lot to keep up with, just being a classroom teacher and kind of inventing the wheel, often in my case with like a class that there wasn't a lot of other people doing. And so, yeah, I was spending all of my time basically, after school, after long days at school, coming back to the Winter Park Library. And I would get all of my grading done, all of my lesson planning for the next day.
That was your third place, your place you would come to. It was
Yeah.
your office. It was sort of your office. Yeah.
Very much so,
Yeah.
much so, in a place that I really loved and felt at home. And would be there all weekend and would be there every night. I'd go home, make myself some dinner and go to the library.
Wow, nice. And this was the old library.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
The one prior to this one. I guess there's an old library, but this was the one over on right off of Fairbanks, right, or off of Alma.
Yeah. New England Avenue off of Fairbanks.
What became of that building, by the way? Do you know?
It's the Blue Bamboo Center for the Arts now. I'm really happy that it became a concert venue.
Oh, really?
For,
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, for jazz and all kinds of
cool.
great eclectic stuff. Yeah.
I guess I have to get out more often.
Yeah, well, for me, I've only so far, they've been open just a few months, and I've only gone to one show. I saw the guitarist Will Patrick, who's a friend, and he and his mom are friends, and And his mom, Jennifer, does some calligraphy classes here. She's really wonderful. He's a really wonderful guy and musician. And so it was really wonderful to see that concert, but I felt so nostalgic being there. It was just overwhelming.
Wow.
It was a really beautiful experience.
Have they converted the space much, or is it still pretty much like it was?
Yes and no. It's very much the feel and look of the old library, but yeah, it's been turned into kind of a club. And we wish the best to Chris Cortez and his family. He's the owner of Blue Bamboo and a great musician, and he worked so hard to see this project through and to get the old Winter Park Library building turned into Blue Bamboo. And he's been struggling with a severe illness that he was recently diagnosed with. So yeah, everyone's very sorry to hear that. And we really wish the best for him and commend all of his great efforts, and he got to step over and see the promised land, he did all this work, and he's been a great part of it. So he's still going.
That's a sad but good story too. Yeah.
And they had a big concert for him a couple weeks ago that was like,
I'll have to look into it. I wasn't even aware of what had happened there. Yeah.
And I get in all this because, back when I was a teacher, it was like I had no life. It was 24/7 working. But now, my current role and as a librarian and stuff, I very much have a very rich life outside of my work at the library, being involved in the local music community and stuff.
And we'll get to that a little bit more in a minute, but I want to get back to your transition from teaching to librarian world. My impression, just as being an interested human, I love libraries. I'm around librarians, but I don't know that much about the career path. I was always under the impression that you needed a master's degree in library science to work in a library. Is that no longer true, or
perhaps not across the board, but by and large, yes.
But you latched on here without that.
Yeah, I do have a master's degree and teaching experience and stuff. And in my current role as a public services,
it's an adjacent field.
Yeah, in my current role as a public services librarian, I know that that admin here, values that. And a big part of what me and some of my colleagues do is helping and planning with classes and events. That it really is an education team that I get to be a part of, in addition to doing lots of other things here.
Right. But you do a lot of things here at the library.
Yeah,
which must be very fulfilling.
Very fulfilling and very fortunate, yeah.
But your title is Public Services Librarian. What does that mean?
Yeah, so a little bit of everything. So public services librarians, as opposed to youth librarians, work sort of with our adult population. So it comes to kind of maintaining our collection of books and materials for grown-ups as opposed to kids. So a big part of our job, maintaining the book collection, ordering books, and all that stuff, and then also working with folks who are putting together events and classes at the library, geared towards folks 18 and up.
Right. Which is amazing, and it gives me a chance, Jeremy, to bring in one of my favorite commercials we have here at our podcast.
Yep.
If you go to winterparklibrary.org/events. What are you going to find, Jeremy? What will you find if you did
You're
that?
You're going to find a listing of so many things that we do at the library every month.
Yeah. I mean, there are a dozen, sometimes even over 100 events every month here, which is just amazing. And that's why I like to, not even, I used to do it jokingly, but now I mean it seriously. I think of this place as Winter Park University.
That's right. It's a great way to put it. Yeah.
So many events here, everything from things for kids to adults to older adults to middle-aged adults, music, books, art, philosophy. And
that's a real plug for this podcast too, Michael. You've gotten to chat with so many of these people, and we have so many people to get to. This is our 30th episode, right?
I keep forgetting that. Yeah. We're a productive duo here, aren't we?
We are. Yeah. And so this is just one of the many fun, projects I get to do, as a public services librarian. I get to lead a book club, which is really fun.
Well, tell me about that. What is it? What kind of book club do you have?
Yeah. So it's a read whatever you want. Talk about whatever you're reading book club. It's called the Better Read Book Club.
Okay.
And I've actually been doing it.
You have to be smart to get in there.
No. It's just a pretentious name.
Okay.
But we've been doing that since actually 2020. And in those days, I was, it was virtual. It was very much COVID-y times. And I was picking a book and having, conversation about it. And,
So you would lead the conversation? Or?
Yeah. And I would get all professorial and write questions about them,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everything
yeah.
for discussion. And it would usually just be like me and one other person. I found
You mean in the club, there only one person would show
at
up?
the time, this was back in the day.
Okay.
This was how it started,
Okay.
and I found maybe my tastes are not quite everybody's tastes. And so we opened it up to more of a bring your own book type thing.
Okay.
And now we have a really wonderful group of like 10 people, at least we're kind of overcrowded in the space we're in. In fact, just, sharing all kinds of stuff. And we've got folks who read, fiction and nonfiction. I tend to be often on the more nonfiction side.
When you say bring your own book, somebody suggests a book and you all read that, or everybody's reading different books?
No, it's more of a show and tell for what we've been reading.
Ah, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
But we have a lot of book clubs at the library. Friend and colleague Emily gets to do a romance book club.
And Emily's been on the podcast.
She
here
sure
before,
has,
yeah.
talking about all the Jane Austen events.
Yeah.
She does a mystery book club. We've had kind of a more African American studies, social justice book club for a while called the Baldwin Book Club. And we have a whole lot going on as far as that goes.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness! I think something's coming soon. That sounds like a cow, but I think I know what that means, Jeremy.
Yeah,
you want to take a wild guess?
I think it's time for rapid fire Q&A. I'm not certain.
It's rapid fire Q&A. What we like to do here at the Books and Beyond podcast is somewhere sort of the middle of the podcast. We like to bring our guests into the real world and stop talking about their profession and why they're here and just get to know them a little bit better as a person. So we have some random questions, and we might have a couple of sneaky new questions. Jeremy's heard a lot of these questions because he's here for every podcast. So let's start out with a couple of familiar ones and let's see how we do.
Okay, all right. Wish me luck.
Jeremy, it's late afternoon, and a world-class chef is showing up at your house, and he or she cooks everything, okay? Any cuisine you want, okay? What are you going to ask for? And by the way, there's no calories in this meal, but you can ask for anything you want. What would it be?
My very favorite food is probably sushi.
Okay.
I might take kind of a Japanese route.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you have a favorite sushi?
Just like whatever the fish on rice, the nigiri, and
Yeah.
kind of a purist.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
very good.
yeah.
All right, good. What's a character trait that you admire in others?
Yeah, people who really mean what they say what they mean.
Okay.
I don't know what you would call that. Maybe authenticity.
Authenticity, okay. Do you have a favorite place in the world that you like to go to or would like to go to? Or
Favorite places in the world are usually libraries.
libraries?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. At various points, it's been Winter Park Library. It's been, university libraries like the ones at New College and FSU.
Yes.
And yeah, those are some of my favorite places.
If you've spent any time in Europe, which you have been to Europe, I think, or no?
Once as a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to go as an older person, I recommend libraries there because they're just phenomenal. I mean, there's one in Trinity College in Dublin that's just you never want to leave. I mean, it just blows your brains away. It's just so gorgeous and so filled with books, and so you just want to go in there and study.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
What advice would you give to the 20-year-old Jeremy if you could?
That's a good question. A lot of routes to take that. Maybe get out and play your own original music more.
Okay, and
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that in a minute because you are a musician in addition to being a librarian. We'll talk about that in just a minute here. What did you want to be when you were a kid?
I think when I was a pretty young kid, I wanted to be some type of writer. I wasn't really sure like what, you know. But yeah, someone maybe who kind of lived off of thinking and ideas. I got a little older and I got interested in being like psychology, like a psychologist.
Okay.
And I kind of.
So you were kind of a very pensive kid. I mean, you were thinking heavy thoughts.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then I definitely thought a lot about I got a master's degree in like religion philosophy and going more kind of university professor.
Okay.
Here I am as a librarian, kind of playing music as a part-time gig too, which something that I maybe wouldn't mind doing full-time as well.
Okay. All right. And speaking of that, the next rapid fire Q&A is: what are your musical tastes?
Oh, I like a lot of all kinds of rock and jazz, and I always say like country-ish kind of stuff, like maybe what you'd call like Americana.
Okay.
Um, yeah, a lot of stuff, rooted in the 60s and 70s or 90s. And yeah, favorite, probably like groups most important to me are the Beatles and the Grateful Dead.
Okay.
So yeah, those are the two really huge ones for me. I play in a Grateful Dead cover band.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah,
well, you have
yeah.
a couple different bands, right?
Yeah, too many bands.
Too many
So,
bands.
yeah.
Okay. When it comes to reading, audio, print, or ebook?
Print.
Print. Okay. I love deckled pages. You know what those are?
Deckled. I don't know what that word means.
You're a librarian.
I know. Yeah, you should.
They're the pages
revoke
that,
my
that have the
librarianship.
little the rough edges. I think like originally books always were deckled. From 500 years ago.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
They didn't have straight cutters. You've seen them.
Yeah, I think I have a sense of what you're talking about.
They have they're very tactile. You
Sure,
really feel
yeah.
like you're with paper.
Oh yeah, but pages that are very tactile or smells. You know,
Yeah.
those things are
Yeah.
very alluring. There's a place I'm finding for audiobooks, but certainly not every book could be an audiobook for me.
Yeah.
You definitely print all the way.
Okay. Speaking of books, you got a couple of authors you want to recommend to us? Either all-time favorites or just new authors you've been reading, or
Yeah, probably
fiction or nonfiction?
most kind of intriguing to me, Yuval Noah Harari.
Yes.
Yeah, the kind of
Sapiens.
yeah, the kind of big picture history, and then Nexus is the most recent one.
Is that his?
That's his as well. It takes kind of like Sapiens is a big picture human history book, and this book is really kind of frightening. It's very much about setting the stage for a discussion of AI. Is kind of how he sets up the book, and he paints so many kind of possible futures and scenarios, and it kind of gets you thinking about just how outrageous things can be. I like reading him because he gets you thinking almost about what I would think of as like the contingencies of history. Like we think about, being human, like, the way we're all human and we have these bodies. And you even think about with a book like Sapiens, the idea, humans didn't have to go the route of being Homo sapiens. There were other, evolutionary routes, Neanderthals and all these other things that could have won out. And that kind of big picture history just really puts into perspective all these little contingencies, history going these little routes instead of others. And reading about it with something as uncharted and unknown, with like how early we are and all these AI changes. Like, it's really thought-provoking and really scary stuff. I really recommend him highly.
And I'm not sure what it's called, genus or what it's actually called, but I mean, it's not. You're right. It wasn't a foregone conclusion that the human beings, the sapiens, won out over the others.
Right.
I mean, who knows? I mean, I can't picture Neanderthals doing this podcast though.
I don't know. Things had worked out differently. It might not be a podcast.
It might
but
not be a podcast.
What would be the equivalent?
Yeah. Hey, do you have a morning ritual that you'd like to share with us? Something you do every morning?
If it's a day off or some day where by some miracle I have some time, I love to go for a walk.
Okay.
First thing in the morning.
Okay, just outside your door, just around.
Yeah, a few different routes I might take. That's kind of my favorite thing. Definitely would be putting on my headphones and listening to some different music. But
okay, and let's end with this one, Jeremy. We could do this all day long. I love this kind of discussion because you learn something about a person.
Yeah.
Fill in the blank here. Success is
happiness, which is another term to unpack. You
can follow that with happiness is.
Yeah. Success is going to be different for every person, and there are a lot of social norms pushing for us to want success to be, the same things. That could be, financial, or it could be, maybe things, our parents want for us or society expects of us. But yeah, success, I think, is living a life of like deep contentment where,
That's good.
There's
a lot of people measure success in different ways. I think the first most common one is financial wealth or something, but
Sure. But if you can, if you can not dread the day that's coming. And I really enjoyed when Gary, my coworker Gary, was on this podcast. He said something about
And Gary did the podcast about music.
yeah.
And the musical group that you were a part of.
That's
here at
right,
the
our
library.
little library band,
What was the
which
name of the
names
band?
no one can remember.
Well, give us the name of that
The
band.
Winter Park Oats Cornmeal and Bookbinding Conglomeration Band.
Wonderful
To
band.
pat myself on the back every time I say
No
it.
kidding, dude. I saw that band live in concert with one of my grandchildren. Two of my
Yeah,
grandchildren.
thank you for being there.
Yeah, we were admirers of that band, and as a matter of fact, you got them singing the song that never ends.
Yeah,
All day long and all day the next day at our home, and it drove me crazy, and I had to run away.
I'm glad to hear that's been an interminable feature of your life now. And that actually got to be my public debut on the banjo, so that was very fun.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And so, speaking of music, so you do a lot of music outside the library job. You
Yeah.
mentioned you have a second job, essentially, or second
Yeah,
career
yeah,
going on
little-
here. You play with, you said the cover band, the Grateful Dead cover band?
Yeah, the spread, the Grateful Spread,
The
if you
Grateful
will.
Spread.
Yeah.
I like it. And where do you play?
We play regularly at a place up the road called Rock Pit Brewing.
Okay.
We're there at least once a month. It's a residency. And
Okay.
yeah. So that's our most regular
Up the
gig for
road,
that
meaning
group.
where?
In Orlando, just past downtown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you also do other music?
Yeah, do quite a bit of other music. I have an originals project called The King Tides, which are my own songs, and I use our studio here at the library for quite a bit of working on that. Me and my friend Chris, that's kind of our, musical collaboration.
And Chris is in one of your bands, or in
Well, that's kind of our shared thing. We're friends of many years.
Okay,
We're friends
okay.
from back in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I play in a group called Shreddy King with my friend, the namesake Shreddy.
Okay. That's his name, or his nickname?
On his birth certificate. Well, no, we call him Shreddy, and that's more of like a hard jam and blues kind of band. We'll do a lot of his originals, but also stuff from he's Shreddy King, so he's the fourth king of the blues. There's B.B. King and Albert King and Freddie King. He's Shreddy King.
He's Shreddy King.
So,
Okay, I like it.
Tackle a lot of that stuff.
And is that the one? Because I think you mentioned to me one time prior to this conversation. You mentioned you play down at Disney Springs or something.
Oh, that's with my friend Nevin.
So that's another band.
Yeah. So Nevin and I
smaller.
have played in a band over the years called Aloma, just like the street.
Yeah.
Nevin's the drummer. Nevin's a wonderful guy who's actually done some programs at the library before. He's participated in our Maker Day event, doing D&D creation exhibits. And so when he plays guitar and sings, sometimes I'm part of his trio that backs him. So that was a recent gig at Disney Springs. Yeah, and then a group I play in called the Rusty Strings too, which is
Holy
more
smoly.
kind of bluegrass folk kind of stuff.
So you got some serious music going on.
Yeah,
here.
Each group maybe does once a month, so it adds up.
Well, I hope you don't give up on your library work yet.
No, I'm too happy here.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to the library part of this here.
Yeah.
What is your favorite thing about working at a library?
Yeah, but some of my favorite things that you just asked for one thing, but
or multiple. Yeah.
Definitely the people you meet and our library patrons, and people who you become friends with and
Right.
get to interact with, and hey, like you, Michael, and lots of other folks. And I love being around physical media too. We live in a weird time where a lot of it's being phased out, and I'm happy to
Physical media, meaning.
Yeah. You asked if I prefer print or audio or digital
okay.
books.
Books. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to be in a bastion of that type of thing, and I love being around all the performances and lectures we get to do. So it's really those three things.
Yeah. And do you happen to know either libraries in general or specific to the Winter Park Library? Do you happen to know the ratio of readership between the different media? Like ebook versus audio versus print.
Oh, I don't know the numbers handy. Some people here might, but I think I don't want to be wrong in what I say. But print books are
Still.
alive and thriving in their checkouts, and ebooks are growing all the time. Yeah, and different ways of like streaming different media. So using like apps we have Libby and Hoopla.
Yeah.
So using those for not only audiobooks, but for movies and TV shows and music.
And those are apps that you can use for free as long as you have a Winter Park Library card.
Exactly.
All you got to do is go online, get those apps, and you have access to the ebooks and
Yeah.
audiobooks.
And
which is
I
great.
love, Libby is the more popular one because bestsellers go right to it and everything. But I'm a Hoopla fan. I think Hoopla's really cool.
It's interesting you mention that because I am too. Because a lot of times I won't find something on Libby.
Yeah.
And then I'll pop over and say, well, maybe let me try Hoopla, and it's usually there.
Especially
they have some off common books there.
If you're ever, catching up with classics, or if you're a nonfiction enthusiast, Hoopla's the place to go.
So you still read a lot of history, or you still like to read history?
Yeah. For sure.
Okay. How about the downsides of working in a library? Do you have any? Maybe there aren't any.
Nothing readily comes to mind. I think of the upsides of all the types of work environments they are. It's a really good one. We get to provide services for people. Typically don't charge people for anything at that, which is really wonderful too.
Right.
Where else can you go?
Isn't that amazing?
Provide services kind of out of a place of goodwill and an important community institution. Type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's. I mean, just we could go on and talk about libraries for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here. What do you need to get into? What advice would you give to a younger person or a person who wants to get into the library field today?
Yeah. First thing that comes to mind is probably volunteer.
Okay.
There are a lot of volunteer libraries. Most libraries have a used bookstore, just like we have our New Leaf bookstore. And it's a great way to, get your foot in the door, not just, as a patron or someone who comes here to read or study, but, to kind of get on the working side. And then if you're sure, that libraries are really what you want to do and you want to be a librarian, there's no substitute for that. A master's of library science, if you're really thinking about education routes and things,
Okay.
But, as an undergraduate, pursue what you love in that case. That can lead to so many different roads. And if you have a specific career thing like libraries, where you're going to have to go back to school and get a master's degree, pursue something you love for your undergraduate.
Okay. I like that advice. Well, we are here with Jeremy Zorn, who is Public Services Librarian, but I also like to refer to Jeremy as the Vice President of Podcast Production because he does produce and edit our podcast.
An honor to have the title, Michael.
Yes, it is.
To be bestowed by the President himself.
Thank you, Jeremy. So we are here in the recording studio at the Winter Park Library. If I want, as a patron, if I want to use this space, what's involved? How do I do something here, and what can I do?
Yeah, the barrier to entry to use our recording studio is pretty low. You just need to have a full-service Winter Park Library card, which is free to folks who reside in Winter Park city limits, Winter Park residents.
And I think you can buy that.
You can buy it
if you're not here.
If you live, down the road and you're outside of district, or if you live, in another county, you can buy it. The rate is $75 for 6 months or $150 for the year. If you are using this recording studio space regularly, that alone is well worth the investment.
Sure.
The other thing you need to do is sit down with me for an orientation session. We'll go over some very simple rules and guidelines for using the space, such as how to book your sessions, making sure, we're on the same page about what it means to clean up after yourself for your sessions. And I'll also offer you in that orientation some tech assistance getting started.
Okay. Do I have to be a techie?
No, certainly not. We get all kinds of people, we get full sail grads who I would have so much to learn from. I have things to learn from everyone who walks in here. But as far as, the technical end goes, we have full sail grads on one end and people, who aren't even quite comfortable using the mouse on the other and everything in between.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what kinds of productions have occurred here?
Oh, all kinds of stuff. Even made a little list on our website back last December of a lot of cool projects people have done for our library blog. But we've had maybe about, to my knowledge, I want to say 4 ish, maybe 3, 4, 5 people who've read audiobooks of books that they've written from cover to cover.
Oh, the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Wow.
Really proud of those folks. That's really awesome. We have people doing podcasts, not just you and me, but, we have people doing podcasts with all kinds of cool stuff. They might be film buff movie enthusiasts. We've had a couple.
Okay.
We've had financial planners, doing stuff on behalf of their business, and a lot of stuff in between. And then we have lots of musicians. I mentioned coming in here to work on recordings of my own music. We have great, microphones and really cool gear that, I don't have at home. Mm-hmm. And a lot of other people, who are musicians use it just for mixing. Like they've laid down all their tracks and they need to get all the levels and stuff right. People use it for that, and we have people who use it from scratch. I'll just give a shout out to a couple people. We have a gentleman named Will Jones, who is a jazz and many other types of musician who lives in Winter Park. And he and my friend Ned, who's a library volunteer, are in here once a week working on recording new music, old music of his, putting it on his website. So Will is really beloved around here and uses the studio a lot. A woman named Patsy, who makes really great music, and she's been doing that her whole life, and this has been kind of a new music headquarters for her. So I could keep going with people.
Music in here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
a lot of so many other people I could shout out by name. But,
So once you have your orientation session with you,
yeah.
And how long does that take? That's about an hour, you said?
No, it depends. For folks who really have a lot of experience, we might just spend 10 minutes together in here.
Okay.
I'd say the average is 30 minutes, maybe
Okay.
45 minutes,
Okay.
if you're really getting your feet wet for the first time.
Okay. And then how do I get access to the studio? I'm a member of the library. How do I do that?
You use our website, winterparklibrary.org, and there's a tab that says Reserve a Room.
Okay.
And you request to reserve the recording studio. You could book up to a week out. You have to book a couple days ahead. So there's a little window you could book at any given time.
And is it in hour segments or?
2 hours.
2 hours, okay.
2 hours at a time.
Very nice. Well, you talked a bit about podcasts. Let's finish up here with talking about podcasts.
Yeah.
So you and I, we make a podcast
We
here.
do.
I do the easy part. I ask the questions. You do the hard part. You make the podcast. What do you? Okay, I want to do a podcast. I've got a business. I produce art, but I want to have a podcast and talk about my work or my passion. What's involved?
Yeah, not a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
There's not a huge barrier to entry for using the studio or for podcasting. I think it helps, like with anything, to engage and immerse yourself a bit in the media you're interested in creating. So, listen to other podcasts for sure. But, a place like this...
And I think probably the two most popular places to find podcasts is Apple Podcasts, and then Spotify, right?
Yeah,
There's others,
probably YouTube,
Google, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But just Google podcasts, and you're going to find it.
SoundCloud, a bunch of platforms you nor I have ever heard of, probably.
Right.
Yeah, but you need a good solid tech setup, and hey, the library may be the place for you. There are all different quality when it comes to your microphones, all different kinds of software you can use, but you're going to want to have some equipment and some
the software
platforms.
would be for what, Jeremy?
For recording your audio.
Okay.
We use Logic Pro here in the studio, but we also have other software like Audacity and Adobe Audition. Every Mac, if you're a Mac user, comes with GarageBand. That's a great way to get started.
Which is a good recording software. Okay, yeah.
And so, getting comfortable being your own engineer, or maybe you have a friend or someone you hire who does engineering, it's pretty simple stuff as audio production goes. It's much simpler than recording most types of music,
Okay.
And then from there on, you're going to want to have some idea of how to distribute it.
Okay. And how does that work?
Yeah, so a lot of different ways that you can do that. Of course, YouTube is a great way if you just plop a picture, onto your audio, maybe in a program like iMovie, and then upload to YouTube. Anyone with a Gmail address can do that. There are a variety of different platforms that will distribute your podcasts. We use one called Libsyn. It's Libsyn. It actually doesn't stand for library.
I think it doesn't mean liberated something?
Liberated syndication,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And we pay a few dollars a month.
And it's not much. I mean,
right.
I don't remember what it was, but it's less than 10 or something around there.
I think for the plan we're on, it's $7 a month, you know, and you get to put your podcast out there. So, yeah.
And then, so when you say put it out there, it's on a server someplace in the Libsyn system, right?
Yeah.
So when people access your podcast, that it comes off of their computer as opposed to yours.
And that's where it goes directly to Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Oh, and they do that for you.
They do that for you.
So once you upload it to Libsyn, so you record your podcast here in the studio or wherever, but you record it here in the studio, you upload it to Libsyn. I'm just trying to get the process down.
Sure.
You upload it to Libsyn, and they publish it essentially onto these other platforms. Is that true?
That's right.
Okay.
That's pretty much the process.
And then you become rich and famous.
Exactly. Yep. As we well know, Michael,
as we know.
Living the life.
Any tips you want to end with here for life in the studio, whether it's recording music, making podcasts, getting access to this room? Any special things you'd like us to think about as a way of parting? A parting gift from Jeremy Zorn.
I guess we're talking about audio production.
Yeah,
now.
audio, yeah.
Experiment and be fearless and have fun and, don't become necessarily too attached to everything you work on. It's all about the experience. And then you'll have your things to be proud of and be a perfectionist about.
Okay.
But mostly the more you work on any skill or any pursuit, the better you're going to get at it, the more, ideas you're going to have, the more knowledge you're going to accumulate.
Oh, that's great advice. And perhaps we'll have you back, Jeremy. Maybe next time we can talk about your music.
Maybe
your music career.
I'm happy to do that anytime. Maybe I can interview you.
Well, let's not set expectations too high here. But that would be.
This is our
fun.
30th interview episode. Maybe the 40th or 50th.
Yeah, maybe we could do that. Well, Jeremy, again, thank you very much. Seriously, it's been my pleasure to have you here, and I really appreciate your help over the last. It's been almost 2 years since we've
That's
been doing
right.
this.
Yeah.
So thank
very
you
proud
for your help
of
in
this.
doing this. Yeah.
Thank
you, Jeremy.
you for making this all happen, Michael, and thank you for bringing me from the other side into the hot seat.
Great to have you here. Thank you, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Books and Beyond from the Winter Park Library. This podcast would not be possible without the generous help and support from the library staff, and especially from Jeremy Zorn. Jeremy's official title is Public Services Librarian, but he does many things here at the library, including producing this podcast. We can't do this without you, Jeremy. Our theme music is from the song Don't Go by Bovine Joe and the Buffalo Herd. That's Herd spelled H-E-A-R-D. We hope you'll let your friends and others know about this podcast and that you'll come by the library for one of our offerings, which you can find at winterparklibrary.org/events. That's winterparklibrary.org/events. If you have questions or suggestions for the podcast or just want to talk about Books and Beyond, please send an email to podcast@winterparklibrary.org. That's an email to podcast@winterparklibrary.org. Remember that the Winter Park Library promotes the free and open exchange of ideas and does not attempt to control or take responsibility for any opinions that may be expressed in this podcast. Opinions expressed in this podcast do not constitute or imply an endorsement or a reflection of the library's policies or beliefs. This is Michael Werner, wishing you well until our next episode of Books and Beyond.